Good morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this beautiful Easter morning? I'm Reverend Tracy Earlywine and delighted to welcome you to our currently online community, this place where we come to remember the truth of who we are and how magnificent that truly is. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Our practitioner this morning is Pat Richards. She's visiting us from the Harmony Center for Spiritual Living in Whittier, and she'll be doing our opening prayer and a reading. And so I'm going to invite you to begin with me by going within. And simply allow that sound to take you into that place of the heart, that sanctuary where love lives. Allowing yourself with each breath to drop in a little deeper, a little quieter, that place of love and truth.
And right here, right now, in this amazing, loving space, we know that God is. And God is the sunrise this morning. That very first light. That magic light. That magic light that hit the spider web underneath the post on the side of the fence. That was tucked in there ever so delicately. And as that first light hit that spider web, it just blossomed and radiated. And as every web crossed itself in those amazing little intersections, it sparkled. Each intersection that is ever so strong sparkled like a diamond. It is that same light, that same power, that same amazing energy that is us. We sparkle, we shine, we radiate light and power. And I'm so grateful, just grateful to be here in this amazing community of Claremont. So amazingly gifted and so amazingly thankful to be here and to be part and to help shine out the goodness, the love, and the light. And please join me in saying, and so it is. My reading today is from Creative Thought, March 2013. It's called Each of Us is Resurrected. God is over all and under all. It is as eternal as both time and space, yet it is born anew with every sunrise, and it rises fresh with every moon. It is me and everyone around me. I am resurrected with the newness of God every moment of every day. I have known the depth, and I have known the height. I have risen from despair and born anew. I am reborn by new thoughts, replacing the outmoded beliefs of youth and days gone by. I choose to embrace the change that I notice all around me. My embrace of change encourages a new me, acting in new ways and getting new, better results. I review and refresh my ideas each day as I bring new awareness into my life. I claim a personal resurrection from a sense of separation. I am a bright light of God's wonder, becoming beauty and being brilliant. And so naturally, a feeling of deep gratitude ensures. I am grateful for all that God is and all that I am. I give thanks to the God within me for my resurrection. I release these words to the law. And so it is.
Thank you. That was just perfect. So happy Passover and happy Easter these holidays of hope and freedom and transformation, telling the stories of how humanity is enlightened by the divine, telling us, reminding us that we as a people can be inspired and uplifted by that spirit within if we would but pause and tune in to that greater truth, that truth beyond our daily lives, that knowingness, that spiritual understanding that lives within each of us. And we get to remember that we're always at a moment of newness, that infinite possibility that life represents is always at our fingertips, just waiting for our thought, for our hearts and minds to open, waiting for us to allow in that inspiration that we are called to be, to become, to be that best self. And what is Easter but a celebration of the divine self, that eternal life that we are all a part of and an expression of? In the one of the Buddhist writings talks about this ability of for us to rise above whatever is going on in our circumstances. Jeff Kober writes, regardless of the facts of our life, up on any given day, at any given moment, we always have the choice of following the story of doom and gloom that may be running in our thoughts, or choosing rather to look forward into life, knowing that it will be there to catch us and lift us up again. This, then, is the entire task of life, uplifting itself again and again, moving towards a greater consciousness, a greater awareness, more wholeness, more joy. And if this is the task of life, then it is the task of my life. Each time I make this choice for myself, I am practicing the example given in the story of the resurrection. I am aligning myself with the whole of the universe. And as I do it for myself, I do it for everyone around me. Consciousness, life itself, is just one thing. To uplift myself is to uplift the whole of life. And so my title today is Even Now We Rise. And I say even now because it is hard to see sometimes in this atmosphere that we're currently in how we could possibly rise above something that feels so devastating. It's hard to see that risen consciousness when we're surrounded by an atmosphere of fear and worry, of disease and even death, and a sense of separation from those we love and from the very things that we value as part of our daily living. You know, some of us have loved ones in the hospital. The economy has slowed way down. People are worried about homeschooling their kids and taking care of their elders, or maybe staying away from everybody so as to protect them. It creates this atmosphere of overwhelm for many of us. And this time of year, we normally see the faces of everyone we love around the table. We share food, we tell stories. Passover, you sing songs, and the kids get to ask questions, and it's a big connection celebration. And this year, it's different. This year, if we're connected, it's with our immediate family members and maybe the faces of relatives on Zoom or Skype or FaceTime. Or maybe it's just their voices on the phone. Or maybe it's just their presence felt in our hearts. This is a very different year of celebration. And at times it doesn't feel like celebrating at all. It seems like the world is dying. But what's really happening here is that a way of life is giving way to something greater. It's the form of our life that has changed so dramatically, not life itself, not the energy that moves through us and as us. We are literally and metaphorically clearing the air by pausing in most of our daily activities, so that we might again recognize what is important, what is essential. What is it that we truly celebrate about life when we're not so busy doing stuff? Who are we in this moment, in this energy of the universe called life, with and to each other? Who are we? What is valuable? This is what we're being called to create a new form for. The human part of us is in fear and maybe a sense of grief at what has been lost and what seems so different and what's confusing and what's overwhelming, and how do we do anything that we need to do. But really, all we are being asked to do is to reassess our connections and what truly expresses that connection that we have with those we love and those things that we find valuable. This year, we're celebrating what's true about life. And that is the divinity within us. That is that power of enlightenment come here on this plane, in this material world, to lighten us up, to enlighten the path, to create for us a new way, a new and greater way of being together. So if we look at the story of Easter, this part of the story is Jesus the night before his death in the Garden of Gethsemane. His death on the cross the following day, being entombed, followed by his resurrection. And we're going to look at this story in terms of the metaphysical meaning, in terms of how it has personal meaning for us, because what we know is that any story is our own story. And so what does this actually look like for each of us? So we start in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I want to start by asking you, who hasn't had a dark night of the soul? Some time or place where you've called into question everything that you're doing, or your reason for being here, or the validity of your choices, or just not knowing what to do. And so when we look at the story of the Garden of Gethsemane, we start with the word Gethsemane itself. That's the Greek word from the Hebrew, and it is the word for an oil press. It is the instrument that extracts the unguents and the ointments from the fruit or the nut. In other words, this is the machine that pulls out the healing properties of that which grows. And it does this through great pressure. So the good is pressed out and the rest falls away. And for us, spiritually, that can be a very agonizing process. This idea of giving up a limited human perspective for something greater, for a greater understanding of ourselves and the world. It is our great work to process this elimination of what doesn't serve us and hold on to the essence of what heals us. For Jesus, it was a trial. It was a source of distress until he surrendered. Now, when we talk about surrender, we're not talking about giving up ourselves in the sense that we no longer exist. What we're talking about is surrendering the small view of life for the larger one. We're talking about surrendering the part of me that wants to say, I don't want to do it this way. And allowing what is being called forth to rise up. So I can tell myself, I don't want to do online church. You might tell yourself, I don't want to stay home. I don't want to teach my kids math. I don't want to stay away from my newborn grandchild. You might tell yourself, you don't want the world to be this way. And yet it is. And it's in the process of surrendering to the fact that it is that we open the door for something greater to show up, for a greater experience of life, to fill us, inspire us, and express through and as us. Again, that is why we are here, for life to lift and lift up again. Ernest Holmes tells us that the resurrection is simply the death of the belief that we are separated from God. And so we surrender to this idea that we truly are part of the whole, even when it appears to be chaotic, even when it appears to be destructive. We remind ourselves of the greater truth that beyond this material world, from a higher perspective, something is going on that is greater than we are. In the Science of Mind text, Ernest Holmes also says, we must be lifted up. That means we must realize our divine nature and relationship to the truth of God. This relationship is one of complete unity. And the cross represents the tree of life, the human, the horizontal, unified with the divine, the vertical, that intersection of human and divine which lives in and as us. That we are to remember, our life is from spirit, not from matter. That each of us must lift ourselves onto the cross of the tree of life, that small self unifying with the large self of the spirit. In other words, unifying ourselves with the true reality. Because it's in that true reality that we find our freedom, that we find a release from the limited beliefs that are holding us back, from the old habits and routines that we're burying the sense of self and passion and love and delight that we don't always find in day-to-day living. We're being asked to uncover that, just as Jesus was asked to go through the illusion of physical death so that the divine spirit within might have full expression. And we do that all the time. We die to that which no longer serves, to the old ideas, to the energy that holds us back rather than lifting us up. And after that death, Jesus was entombed, placed in that dark cave which represents our limited viewpoint of life. You know, it seems like our life only goes so far and we can't see beyond that. And if our thinking is negative or destructive or fearful or doubtful, or in some way we are caught up in whatever the chaos of the world is, we are definitely burying our true self. And so he was buried in the tomb until the third day, when the stone of ignorance was rolled away by the angel of light. Angels are always about spiritual understanding. So when we ourselves allow spiritual understanding to replace the ignorance or the limited beliefs that we live in, we too are flooded with light, because darkness must give way to light. And so we too must give way, surrender to that greater understanding which gives us a bigger perspective of who we are and how we are in this world. And with that light comes resurrection. And the word resurrection is to restore or resurge or to rise again. Again, meaning we've been here before. In other words, we're not doing something that's so totally out of character or out of the norm. We are divine beings, and we have had glimpses of that place before. We have lived in that energy when we are in our most creative or at our most loving or giving of ourselves in service. We are returning to that place. And once again, lifting ourselves up from the power within, that we might live a greater life, surrendering the lesser in order to experience the greater. Now, this is not to ignore or minimize the experience that we have in this life. It's not to keep us from taking care of those around us or caring deeply about what is going on in the world. But tapping into that greater knowing within allows us to show up as our most powerful, as our most loving, as our most compassionate. This is what's being called forth in life. The world is being asked to reset its priorities, to once again value the connections we have, not to take things for granted, not to assume that material wealth is equivalent to spiritual abundance, but to actually appreciate who we are to each other, how we can be together, how interconnected life is. There is only one life, and we are all that life. We're here to be the way showers. We're here to rise above the chaos of the world and know with greater truth that we are part of a loving, unfolding life. And today we rise again. Marianne Williamson talks about the alchemy of Easter, and she says the resurrection is a description of how the universe self-corrects. Life always reasserting itself, even when forces of death and darkness have temporarily prevailed. Like a tiny flower growing through cracks in broken cement, peace of mind emerging at last after periods of deep grief. People continuing to fall in love despite the ravages of war. Love always gets the final say. Or each of us finding creative ways to connect despite the physical distancing during a pandemic. Love always leads the way. To lean on the resurrection is simply to recognize what's true. Life is of the spirit, not matter. Now, if the universe had a voice and we were to listen deeply, this is what we might hear today. We interrupt your life with a test of the emergency broadcast system. Can you see me right now? Yep, I'm the light and all that it shines on. Can you hear me? Every single sound and the silence too. Can you feel me right now? In the air on your skin, under your feet, in the palms of your hands. Can you feel me in the tug at your heart, the rhythm it keeps, and the blood in your veins? Right. Now, next time you have cause for alarm, see me. Next time you need absolutely anything, listen to me. And next time you feel all alone, remember, you're not. Love always the universe. And so this holiday season I offer you that in love, even now, we rise again. Namaste. And I invite you to join me in a moment of prayer. Once again, closing your eyes and taking that deep breath right where you are. For right where you are, Spirit is, life is, God is. And we are all joined together in consciousness where there is no time, no space, only the unity of all life. And this life is a life of love and transformation, of constant evolution and becoming and expansion. And we are that. We are that love, that peace, that generous spirit of compassion and kindness. We are that place where God shows up through and as each one of us. And so for this I give great thanks and speak my word of healing, that which seems broken be made whole, that those who are suffering find peace, that each of us rises up to show and express and become and be that place of love we are meant to be. that open invitation to connection that we are designed for. The people that we are growing into and becoming that are caring, peace-loving, nurturing, beautiful, all that is good. For all that is good is right here where we are, for right where we are, God is. And in this gratitude for blessings received and those yet to come, for the blessing of this enforced separation on the outside, calling forth that known connection on the inside, with great thanks, I simply allow it to be, surrendering to the love that is, trusting the way forward whether I see it or not, knowing that all is truly well in the mind of God. And I release my word into this law of spirit. For I know that the law must act on the words that I believe and the good that I claim. I claim it for myself and for everyone. Simply allowing this wholeness that is our truth to show up in time and space in the way which serves our highest and best good. And simply letting that be. And so it is.
I've been saving up these tears for 1,000 days and 1,000,000 years. Now's the time to release all the chains that bind me. I need amazing grace from a friendly face to help me see some love in the human race. Maybe I can turn on the light that wants to shine within me. So I'm gonna say yes, 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 yes to love. Gonna say yes, 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 yes to love. There's a saying, love conquers all, so I surrender before I fall. No need to fight, I answer the call of destiny. All the pain, all of the tears, all the shame and all of the fears, suddenly they just disappear the moment I say yes. So I'm gonna say yes, 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 yes to love. Gonna say yes, 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 ooh, yes to love. 'Cause you can't give to someone else until you start to love yourself. I'm gonna say yes to love. Oh, gonna say yes, yes, ooh, yes to love, yes to love, yes to love. Oh yeah, yes, yes,
So again, thank you for joining us today. I want to also thank you for your continued support of our community. Know that you can send a check into the center or donate through our PayPal button on our website, or call the office if you need other ways in which to do this. We can be creative, but I do value your support. It allows us to continue to do the work that we do and reach out to serve this community that we all so love. I also want to remind you that Wednesday night is also online. The Gateway Service is on Zoom. You can find the link in the weekly e-blast, and it allows you to take part in the service just as if you were in the room. And you can either use your laptop or your phone with your camera, or just dial in and take part in the conversation. So that's always a wonderful spiritual boost on Wednesday nights. We've also started a happy hour on Thursday nights, which is connection through conversation. So pull up a chair and dial in either on camera or on the phone and join in the conversation as we talk about life and how this is affecting us and how we might spiritually support each other. We started this last week and had a great conversation, so I do encourage you to join. Feel free to share that link with your friends if there's someone else you think might benefit from talking with all of us. I welcome you all. Home Office for Centers for Spiritual Living is sponsoring a Cozy Couch concert series. So you'll find the schedule in our e-blast again, and also on the csl.org website from Home Office. Check out who is performing for us. You go to Facebook. They're in their own living rooms and singing songs just for us. It's about a 45-minute concert, and everyone I've seen so far has been just delightful. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. And I remind you to continue to reach out to me, to our practitioners, and to each other. Stay connected. Physical distancing does not mean that we are socially disconnected. That is not us. We are a community of love, and let that love come forth in new and creative ways. We welcome conversation with you. Please remember, you are loved. Thank you.